Afternoon to all. Now we are going to start third session, technical session. We have with us Professor K. Srinivasulu sir and also Dr. C.H. Srinivas sir and Mallesham sir also will join shortly. So now I call upon Professor K. Srinivasulu sir come to the dais. And also I request Dr. Narsimulu sir will give the fruit bouquet. Srinivasulu sir. Now I invite Dr. C.H. Srinivasulu sir, Department of Physics. Please come to this. I invite Dr. Indira, Department of History and BOH Chairperson. Hand over to So, two speakers are very prominent on the Mahatma Jyotiba Phule. First one, Professor K. Srinivasulu sir is also my teacher at PG level. I am very proud of you, sir, and honored to invite you for this session. Srinivasulu sir was a professor, Department of Political Science at Osmania University. He completed MA, MPhil and PhD from the Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He has been a visiting fellow at the Queen Elizabeth House, Oxford University, and a senior fellow now at the Indian Council of Social Science Research. He has co-edited by Agrarian Question in India. His major research interests are in policy studies, political regimes, and political theory of Gramsci. He has been researching the liberalization, federal structure, and regional identity movements. He was a dean at the Social Science Osmania University, former head Department of Political Science, BOH chairman, and also many committees he has involved. He administered a member of the Research Advisory Committee, National Institute of Rural Development, NIRD, that is Hyderabad. He was a member of the Departmental Committee, Department of Political Science, University Hub, Hyderabad. He rendered his service as a member of the governing body, University College for the Women, Autonomous. He has held the different positions in the external research examiner of PhDs, MPhils, and these are at the Jawaharlal Nehru University. He delivered many lectures at the outside and also our India Academic Staff Colleges, Hyderabad Central University, Mumbai, Pune University, Andhra, Nagarjuna. He presented a paper various national and also the international. I welcome you, sir, once again for our own department. And also we have with us Dr. C.H. Srinivas sir, Department of Physics. Sir also they participated many deliberations and discussions among the Phule ideas and also the thoughts. Started ABCD organization at the Kakatiya University, backward classes that is. He also initiation of the Phule and also Savitribai Phule statue at the Kakatiya University. Participated many backward class movements, that is BC subplan. He represented at the committee, at the advisory committee also, at the secretariat and also the state government. Now I would like to invite you, sir, for this talk. So now I request Professor Srinivasulu sir, please give the delivery.
Thank you very much, Dr. Venkateshwarlu and friends. So the theme of this talk, as suggested by Dr. Venkateshwarlu, I think even the theme of the seminar is on the relevance of Mahatma Phule. So the question is why and how Phule. When we talk about Phule, obviously we talk about his Satyashodhak movement. Why it's important and relevant today. Okay. And obviously when you want to understand the relevance of a thinker or relevance of the body of ideas, or a movement which embodies certain ideas, then obviously we have to ask ourselves, how should we read those ideas? How should we read? It's not. Okay. How should we read and understand Phule? Okay. That's another important question. So when we read a particular thinker, okay, basically we read that thinker or try to understand that thinker with our context in view. Because no reading is innocent reading. Every reading, whether you are reading a movement, reading a thinker, reading a text, okay, that reading implicitly has politics. So every reading is a political reading. Okay, and as scholars, the job of the university is to read consciously. You can read innocently, you can read like a school kid, okay, by heart things. You can also read consciously, okay. That means you ask questions. So our relationship with Phule, I mean today, if you look at there are a lot of celebrations of Phule's birthday, Baba-Saheb-Ambedkar's birthday and death day, and we see them essentially as very grand kind of rituals, ceremonials, okay, and after that we forget. But the question is, if we want to really learn something from a great historical personality like Phule, then the proper way of establishing relationship is not one of adoration. It doesn't mean that we don't respect. Okay? Even when we criticize people, we respect them. I mean, we take them seriously, therefore we criticize. If I don't take somebody seriously, why should I criticize? Okay? But it's not, it shouldn't be the relationship of adoration. So I would say that our relationship, if you want to really understand the relevance of Phule to our time, our relationship should be one of interrogation. We should ask questions to Phule, okay, directly, bluntly, frankly. Because after all, he was a Satya of truth, Satya Shodhaka. So therefore, he will not be scared of being asked questions. So we should interrogate fully. And when we are interrogating, when we are asking questions, obviously we are not asking questions, okay, that are not related to our context. The questions come from our context. So the kind of questions perhaps Phule faced in 19th century were different from the kind of questions that we would be interested in asking in 21st century, okay, second decade of 21st century. So there the first point is that any reading, okay, has to be political reading, meaning thereby political reading means conscious reading, because in politics, okay, we become conscious, we establish conscious relationship. Secondly, when we are reading somebody, trying to understand somebody, there is a purpose. So since we have this seminar, there is a purpose for this seminar, and that purpose is decided by our context. So we are interested in how Phule is important to us, how Phule is relevant to us. Okay, with these preliminary methodological issues, let us go into the substance. Any body of ideas would have two aspects. One is what can be called the problematic. Okay. Secondly is the thematic. A thinker would have his own questions. Okay. So if he is very frank and blunt, he would make those questions explicit. A thinker may not make his questions explicit, but he will go on elaborating. Profound is theory. So problematic deals with what were his questions, what issues in fact troubled him, bothered him. The thematic is the explanation of it, elaboration of it. That's one important thing we need. Second is, I'm not interested in Phule for his statements, his explanations, because there is a gap of almost 1.5 centuries between him and me. As you know, Sudhakar Samaj was established in 1873, that means 150 years back. So his problems were different. If Phule comes to Pune in 2023, he will not be able to cross the road in Pune. Pune has changed so much. Okay? Or if Marx comes to London in this period, obviously he would find himself estranged. The London of 19th century was different. So the point is that we should be interested in, we should read a thinker not for his statements, not for what he said, not even for his explanation. We should read a thinker for his methodology. How did he try to understand his contemporary society, contemporary politics, a contemporary culture? Because he is establishing a relationship, trying to interrogate by asking questions. I mean, Phule is interesting to us because there were a lot of thinkers in 19th century. In Pune itself, Pune, as you know, that is an important intellectual center from 18th, 19th century onwards in Western India. Okay, like Chennai in South India. So therefore, there were thinkers of different kinds of ideological persuasion in Pune. We are not interested in them. I'm interested more in Phule than OneDay, for instance. Why is it that? Because I think I can learn something from the methodology of Phule. So methodology, in other words, to put it slightly sophisticatedly, there are two things. One is logic of inquiry. What kind of logic of inquiry could be deciphered from Phule? I may not find that logic suitable. I may not find it relevant. I may even find it outdated because there is so much of advancement in the field of logic, methodology. But there is definitely some insightful kind of things in Phule. So therefore, if I read, there will be a lot for me to learn from those insights, from that logical inquiry. So there are two aspects to any thinker. One is the logic of inquiry. How is he inquiring it? What kind of questions is he thinking are relevant and posing? Secondly, the logic of presentation. Okay? The logic of presentation is for his audience. We are not his audience. We are not Phule's audience. We are not even audience of Dr.B.R.Ambedkar. Okay? So he has to, obviously when you have something new to say, okay, you try to say that in a language, in a manner which is accessible to the people to whom you are addressing. So that means through your presentation, you are establishing a relationship with your readers, with your audience. So your language, the style of presentation, okay, all that, okay, depends on the audience. In fact, one Maharashtra Sudhakar scholar was telling me, you must have heard about Velumove. Velumove, the husband, who is a good friend of mine, Bharat Patanka, was telling that many Maharashtrians outside a particular area in Maharashtra to which Phule belonged, do not understand the language of Phule. Then I said, is it because he was rustic? I was jokingly asking. No, he was very well read, but he had those rustic peasants and lower castes in his mind. So he was not writing for the upper caste of Maharashtra, he was writing for the Shudras and Atishudras of Maharashtra. Therefore, that is the language he uses. And that people who are translating Phule's writings. Phule's writings are available to us thanks to, in English, thanks to G.P. Deshpande. Okay? And he told that G.P. Deshpande also is not familiar with that dialect, that particular language of the area. So therefore, we must keep these things in mind. The logic of inquiry, the logic of presentation. Methodology is important, not the explanation and thematic. Okay? And then a thinker becomes important if he is deeply embedded in the contemporary, the empirical, he is more or less like a journalist. Who would be interested in reading a newspaper the next day? Forget about next day, after 1 hour, we will not read the newspaper. Because thanks to the television, we are updated with news. Isn't it? So if you are embedded deeply in the empirical, then you are like a journalist. Okay? But thinker has a different dimension. The thought that a thinker represents has a different dimension, a qualitative dimension. That's a speculative. What is the speculative aspect of Phule? Because unless you go beyond your immediate reality, you will not be able to visualize the future. Okay? Thinker is also like a dreamer, not like Rajamouli, cinema director, but a logical dreamer. A dreamer who tries to establish relation to the present and future, past and future. So therefore the speculative aspect of the thought. So let's not get bogged down by the immediate, by the empirical. You must also pay attention to that speculative, theoretical aspect of the thought. So therefore, when we are reading Phule, we must keep that in mind. Okay? And not bogged down by the admiration. And in fact, Baba Sahib himself said that in politics, in society, no bhakti. If you have bhakti in politics, then you will become admirer of Trump and people like Trump. Okay? No, bhakti, no. You have to be critical, you have to be interrogative. And that is applicable even to, obviously, Ambedkar would have agreed that you also interrogate me, question me, don't accept whatever I say. Okay. So now coming to this, what was the central project of Phule? So we are asking two different order of questions. What was his problem? What were his questions? Then since we are interested in relevance, what are our questions? What are our problems? Third question is how understanding Phule would help us in understanding, not just understanding, but illuminate our contemporary problems, which we are not able to grasp, which we are not able to come to grips. So in that sense, we need to ask this question. What was his context? Obviously, 19th century, he lived in 19th century and in a city called Phule, Pune. What was 19th century Pune? It was a post-Peshwa Pune. As you know, as any student of history will know, the Peshwas were the most coercive, atrocious, Brahminical political regime, political kingdom. Secondly, Pune city is a city of a particular kind of Brahminical culture, the Chitpavan Brahmins. So post-Peshwa, Chitpavan Brahmin city. I mean, if you are interested in immediate comparison, you can say Madras. What kind of, two cities which created greatest anti-caste thinkers. Pune, Phule, subsequently Chennai, early 20th century Chennai, Periyar. Why Hyderabad did not create a great I was just thinking about it. When Venkat said, I must speak on this, I was just thinking, why Hyderabad did not create a Phule or a Periyar? We have a great person, Bhagirathi Verma, for instance. So because these are all highly influenced by, under the domination of the Brahmin caste. So Chitpavan post Peshwa Pune, therefore the reaction would be equally strong and powerful. Therefore a great critique of Brahminism in Phule. Likewise, Chennai, Iyengar Brahmin city of Chennai. Okay? They think that they are the greatest Brahmins on the earth, Iyengars. Okay? Iyengars and Iyers. Even Iyers, who are also a sect in the Brahmins, are treated unequally or almost like untouchables by Iyengars. Okay. So therefore, a culture which is built by the dominant Iyengar community in a city like colonial city like Chennai would obviously, logically, need not necessarily, but logically opens up the possibility of creation of a great anti-caste thinker. Therefore, you have failure. Hyderabad was different. Hyderabad was the Nizam's capital city. There is not that kind of atrocious Brahminical thing. So, more than anti-caste, we have self-respect, identity kind of movement in Bhagirathi Varma. This is only hypothesis. I am not going into the details. Somebody who is interested in history could explore it further. Okay? So therefore that context becomes very important. Post-Peshwa, okay, Chitwan Brahmin dominated. So reaction to the Brahmin. Second important thing, if you look at Maharashtra, historically, there have been great anti-caste, anti-Brahmin movements in the form of Bhakti movement. So Bhakti movement is a very important intellectual, ideological, spiritual resource for Phule. Okay? So it's easy for a Maharashtrian to see caste critically. We also have that kind of somebody like Vemana. But Vemana, we have reduced him to nothing. Do we recite Vemana in everyday life? We don't. Okay? So Vemana's influence, okay, to that extent is limited. Maybe it is there in Rayalaseema, but not so much in other parts of the Telugu state. Okay. Third is obviously he was exposed to the Western tradition. Thomas Paine's Rights of Man was a great influence. So there was this mix of Bhakti movement, its critique of caste. Secondly, the Western ideas of rights. So this is the context of Phule that shaped his thinking and vision of the future. So now immediately, what is our context? We are in the early part of 21st century. Okay, we are post-colonial. Okay, we were ruled by the British for almost 2 centuries. So post-colonial, post-liberal, neoliberal. Okay, we are in a globalized world, and we have seen 2 decades of policies forcing this neoliberal, globalized vision. Thirdly, whether we like it or not, we are increasingly enveloped by the Hindutva, unilinear, monolithic notion of Hinduism, which historically on the ground is not Hinduism. Hinduism is internally highly differentiated. Almost every religion is internally differentiated. If you take Christianity, okay, Christianity is not just church-centric. Christianity in each country in each region was different. Okay, in terms of the imagination, in terms of the rituals or practices. Okay, there were very, very orthodox traditions within the Christianity. There were very liberating practices also in Christianity. So also Islam. So the point is that every religion, when it becomes an important part of human life, part of the life of people and society, it undergoes a lot of change and transformation, differentiation. But what Hindutva is trying to do is trying to impose uniformity, okay, linearity, singularity on Hinduism. Okay, that is the major problem. So we are in this post-colonial, post-neoliberal and aggressive Hindutva kind of situation today. So the contexts are clear, and you see the great difference between Phule's context or the context. Now let us talk about what was the central, okay, propositions of Phule's thinking. First important thing that we must draw from Phule is the recognition of the fact that caste is the historical and social, cultural specificity of Indian society. Remove caste from Indian society, understanding of Indian society. Indian society could be like Afghanistan or could be like Bulgaria in Europe. Because of caste, it's unique, it's different. So that is the first important lesson we must learn from Phule. That is the centrality of caste to our society, economy, politics, culture, so on and so forth. Secondly, what in fact informs this caste system? Okay, what are the theoretical, ideological underpinnings of caste system? Obviously, Brahminism. Remove Brahminism, caste would lose its ideological power. So caste gets its ideological power because of Brahminical thought process, Brahminical outlook and perspective. And what is Brahminism? Brahminism is essentially ritualism. Okay? Look at, go to any Hindu, so-called Hindu marriage performed by a Brahmin. You see a lot of kinds of rituals repetitively being done. And if you just close your eyes and think, is it meaningful? What is meaningful is to make the man and the boy and girl husband and wife. Without rituals, perhaps they will not get tired and remain good husband. The fellow tires you out by repeatedly making, okay, practicing, repeatedly repeating those rituals. So, Brahminism is basically ritualism. And caste system, a very unique kind of system. That is hierarchical system. Suddenly, if somebody comes to you and tells his caste, immediately, even people like us who are very consciously against caste, we suddenly place him. Is he here or there? I am here. Where is he? Here or there? Because caste is inherently hierarchical. Because we are brought up in that way, no? From your childhood onwards. So immediately we place the fellow somewhere in the hierarchy. So deeply hierarchical kind of system. So all these insights, okay, we have to. I'll tell you later why these insights are important. Another very important theoretical intervention of Phule in 19th century India was trying to identify the central dynamic in Indian society. What is the dynamic which troubles Indian society, which is the dominant forces try to subjugate, try to anesthetize, and what is the dynamic which would in fact make that society move forward? transform that society. Because this is very important, because in 19th century in India, the concept of contradiction was not central to Indian speculative thinking. So Phule tries to identify. First think about contradiction. We are not talking about 19th century Europe. 19th century Europe, there was already Marxism. And Phule obviously was not aware of what Marx was doing. By then Marx was not popular, nor Hegel popular in India. But irrespective of that, he is trying to identify what is that major contradiction. Obviously, because of his insight into Brahminism, he identifies a contradiction, not merely in terms of caste, also in terms of ideological systems. So, Brahmin versus Shudra Ati Shudra, that is the major contradiction in Indian society. When you identify these two important social blocks as contradictory, then obviously you will see what kind of thinking, thought process, systems of thought are influencing these two. So, Brahminical perspective, Brahminical thinking, Brahminical ethics, and Bahujan thinking. So there is this conflict. And how fasten, how fruitful, how full-fledged do you make this contradiction? Okay, would help you in, assist you in catalyzing the process of change. But as D.T. Kosambai very famously says in one of his writings, that Indian society, unlike the Western society, has tried to live with contradictions of different periods. Okay? He calls it Python. All the contradictions. Okay? Generally, when society progresses, the contradictions of earlier society get resolved, and new contradiction, or the old contradiction takes new shape, new form, or assumes new essence. Okay? But Indian society, that hasn't happened. The contradictions of the old society continue to exist. They may not be powerful, but if there is an actor or agency, that old contradiction can be reactive. That's what we are seeing in India. Otherwise, in what way Aurangzeb is important to our life? I was watching YouTube day before yesterday, because there were election happening in Karnataka, and ordinary people were asked about Tipu, what way is he relevant? 300 years back he died. Very ordinary person is saying. But if there is a powerful political agency, so Tipu Sultan will become a warrior today. He will appear as a terrorist today. That's the peculiarity. I mean, it's not just peculiar to India, but it's a very powerful peculiarity of India. Similar kind of things happen in the West also. Older contradictions are tried to be relevant, reactivated. Okay? But it happens very frequently, very powerfully, very aggressively, and very atrociously in our context. So therefore the point is that fully identified that contradiction. And I see many people in many gatherings, okay, people repeating, especially in political gatherings, people repeating that contradiction. Brahmin versus Shudra, Ati Shudra. But 21st century India is different. Take any part of, not just Pune, any part of India. Neither the Brahmin is the Brahmin of the old year, nor the Shudra, Ati Shudras are of the earlier kind. Okay? There is a dynamic change that has happened in the last beginning a century and a half. So that we need to take note of. We generally tend to identify Phule with caste. But we must note that Phule also had a very serious view on class. Therefore, he did not merely talk about Brahmin versus Shudra Ati Shudra. He talked about Shedzi Badzi versus Shudra Ati Shudra. Brahmin, Shedzi Badzi, the moneylender, the landlord. Okay? Because obviously 19th century Pune was Pune, Maharashtra was still agrarian state. So therefore, the classes which oppress the agrarian, peasantry, agrarian labor classes is important. So therefore, caste, just not caste, class is also equally important in Phule's vision. He also had a very progressive ideas on gender. Okay? Because he knew that even women in the Brahmin families are also subjected to this purity pollution. Women are also impure, not throughout, but on certain occasions. So therefore, the point that we need to note is that there is a differentiated discrimination, differentiated exploitation. So you can't lump all kinds of exploitation into one category. So we need to have a nuanced understanding of social divisions, nuanced understanding of social relations, nuanced understanding of relations of domination and subordination. That's an important thing. So given this, given the fact that there is a recognition of caste being the central aspect of Indian society, so therefore the political project of Phule was centered on annihilation of caste. If you do not remove caste, destroy caste, annihilate caste, okay, there is no solution to this. And now coming to our situation. What is the nature of caste? Can we simply repeat Shudra Ati Shudra being one and Brahmin being the antagonist in today's context? And why caste continues to be important? Let me briefly talk about it. Look at the contemporary sociological literature. Okay. There is an orchestration of a view that caste, articulated by very well-known, respected sociologists. For instance, like M.N. Srinivas, who has spent his entire life studying caste and village. And M.N. Srinivas, towards the end of his life, just before his death, wrote a piece and said that caste has lost its systematic nature. Caste is no longer a system. When we say something is a system, that means we presume that there is a structure of relationship. System means structured relationship. If caste is considered as a system, that means the relations between different castes are not amorphous relations, are not relations randomly patterned. They are structured relations. And Srinivas is saying that caste is no longer a system. There is another famous sociologist who also spent his entire intellectual academic life studying caste and rural social structure, Andre Bethe. He says that caste has decline of caste thesis. Caste is not that important as it was earlier. Okay? And Dhirubhai Seth, another important sociologist, okay, more ideological because he was a Lohite. But he says that caste is no longer a hierarchy. What is unique to caste is its hierarchical nature. Caste is not unique because in inequality. What is the difference between caste and class? When you talk about caste, you immediately talk about higher or lower. When you talk about class, you don't think about higher and lower, more or less. Ambani has more, I have less. It's not that Ambani is higher, I am lower. No. But when you talk about caste, okay, then immediately say higher, lower, pure, impure. So two are totally different systems. And if somebody is saying that it has lost its hierarchical nature, that nature of higher and lower, then its caste is no longer relevant. So we need to, examine the importance of caste and therefore the relevance of Phule in the context of these intellectual trends, okay, dominant sociological trends that try to announce premature death of caste. Caste is still alive, but they are saying that it's dead body. Only thing is you need to conduct funeral. Long dead, dead to be buried. No. Why we say that caste is not dead, caste has not lost its relevance. Caste has not declined. Caste has not become asystemic. It is no longer systemic. Okay, caste is not hierarchical. How do we say? Simple. In fact, I wrote a piece, lengthy piece. I said that, in fact, out of curiosity, I took every Sunday in Hindu, I took the Hindu and Inaugural. Every Sunday in Hindu and Inaugural, I have matrimonial columns. 2-3 pages. Okay. But now, of course, I don't know, are they there, columns? Not necessary, because social media is there, no? You announce your proposals on this. Anyway. And if you look at Hindu matrimonial column, because it's one of the leading English newspapers, almost 80% of the matrimonial advertisements contain a strong reference to caste, within the caste. And since it's a South Indian thing, okay, and a lot of advertisements come from Iyengars and Iyers, they also talk about Gotra. It's not only caste, Gotra also. Okay. And if this is the reality, in this part of 21st century, then how can Andhra Pradesh say that caste has declined, lost its power, lost its potency? Take another very vernacular kind of newspaper, Inaugural. Same pattern you see. Perhaps I found, if I remember rightly, I found more progressiveness in Inaugural, because the people who are advertising Inaugural may have crossed the marriageable age. When you don't get married and you reach the age of 40, you say any girl will do or any boy will do. So I found Inaugural, because of the force of necessity, being more progressive than Hindu. Anyway, that on the later side. So the point is that even a newspaper would demonstrate that caste is still a living thing, not a dead thing. Okay. With this in view, we need to see how Phule is still. So we need to have a very differentiated understanding of, very detailed, nuanced understanding of caste today. Okay. And caste today is perhaps more than in the 19th century. I'm talking about Shudras, Adishudras. If you use that same old phrase, Shudras, Adishudras are perhaps today more under the influence of Brahminism than in the 19th century. Because many Shudras perhaps were getting married. Obviously, Adishudras were getting married without a Brahmin priest. Today, you go to any marriage, you will say not one Brahmin. In fact, one friend was telling that a marriage was performed by some 7 or 8 priests. Because they were competing in reciting marriage-related Vedic hymns. So the more the Brahmins, like Lord Rama had so many Brahmins performing the marriage with Sita Mata. Likewise, my son or daughter also should be married by so many priests. So the point is that Shudras today, okay, are more under the influence of Brahminism. Okay. You see that in marriages, you see that in your Vastu. What is Vastu? Nothing but Brahminical influence. Okay. Somebody may say that Vastu has scientific element in it, rationality in it, all that, but that needs to be. So today caste is very much part of our living reality. Take any political party. If you look at the political dimension, all the regional political parties are caste parties. Originated by, controlled by one man, his family, his caste. I don't need to give the name of any party. You just open your eyes or close your eyes and think about any political party. The political party which you like the most, and think about its caste. In other words, almost all the political parties, especially the regional political parties, are nothing but caste fronts. Generally, the democratic logic tells that if a political party loses election, then the leader of that political party resigns. As simple as that. And most of them, if you look at Western democracy, most of them go into oblivion. Does anybody know where Brown is? He was very powerful Prime Minister of England. Okay. We don't know. In fact, I saw in WhatsApp, he was traveling in the city train, metro, London metro, and he's standing and reading newspaper. People are sitting and they are not bothered about it. He was Prime Minister of England, Prime Minister of Great Britain. Nobody is bothered about it. Okay? I mean, even ex-Prime Minister gets so much of security in India. There is no security. So the point is that, but here, the leader loses election after election, but he still remains the leader. Take DMK. How many times Karnataka lost the election, but it's continued to be. So the point, I mean, just to illustrate the point, because there are some young people I see. So the point is that all the political parties are caste guilds in a sense. Okay? And that clearly shows the political significance of caste, the political sociological significance of caste. It's not just historical significance of caste, but the political sociological significance of caste in the regional political system. Therefore, in the regional political economies as well. Who are the people who have wealth? Okay, how wealth is distributed, how wealth is generated, how wealth is distributed. Okay, and what is the caste nature of wealth distribution? And what is the relationship between caste production, wealth generation, and the political system or the state? Because after all, state policy is important. If the state is in your favor, you can become world's richest man in no time. The person who was out of radar within no time became the second richest man in the world. How is it possible? That shows the power of politics. So therefore, caste is not just Brahmin rituals and all that. Caste is a political phenomenon, political power. Caste is also economic power. So also cultural power. So I will not go into the details, except say, so how much time can I take? Okay. Now let me, I mean, it can go on and on because the story is so lively, you need to look for. Obviously, one is what kind of ideological, okay, form, what kind of political, cultural format it has. Obviously, Hinduism, Hindutva, which many of us hear frequently being called Manuism. Okay, Hindutva is nothing else but another form of Manuism. So three things need to be considered to moment. One is Hindutva, Brahminism, and Manuva. Secondly, what is the nature of capitalism? What is the nature of wealth generation and wealth distribution? Thirdly, what is the nature of state? Okay, so political, cultural ideology, okay, nature of economic production, thirdly, nature of political organization. These are three things we need to observe carefully. So what are the general observations that one can make, okay, about today's political ideology, state, and nature of production system? First is that there is a very clear assertion, reassertion of the Savarna caste. Not just assertion, aggressive assertion of the Savarna caste under the Hindutva hegemony. Hindutva is no longer just ideology, no longer just domination. To use Gramscian insight, Hindutva is not just domination, Hindutva is hegemony. Hegemony is that state of an ideology where people accept it, okay, imbibe it, start believing and practicing it. So Hindutva is not merely something which is there externally and being imposed on. Hindutva is accepted. So there is a molecular process of transformation that has happened in the last few decades. So that is the thing we need to. So if you are talking about anti-caste, we must, okay, theoretically, politically, understand the nature of this molecular nature of Hindutva, okay, establishing itself as a hegemonic influence. That's one. Secondly, what is the present state of anti-caste? Okay. You may not talk about anti-caste in that very pure Christian form. And one facet of anti-caste with which we are all familiar is what we call social justice politics. Okay. In the current issue of Mainstream, I have a lengthy article, 6,000 words article on social justice politics, okay, where I try to discuss the crisis in social justice politics. There is a serious crisis in social justice politics, and the symptoms of this social justice crisis is the decline of education. Look at all the anti-caste thinkers. They put the premium on education because the only resource that could be made available to relatively easy to access is education. If a lower caste person wants to rise in the social position, only education is. If a rich person is illiterate, he can still remain superior because of his wealth. So three things are important for social standing in a society like ours. One is caste. Caste, if you have caste, I mean, you don't need to have anything. You will get respect, you will get recognition, you get easy access to comfortable life. Okay? Look at the way we treat a Brahmin beggar and a Atishudra beggar. Brahmin beggar directly comes into your home and demands. So begging also has a very dignified kind of presentation. Okay, so one is caste, second is wealth, third is education. These are the things which, okay, facilitate a person attaining and leading a dignified life of self-respect. Today these resources are being, okay, assaulted in India today through privatization, corporatization. So education is no longer, I mean, it doesn't mean that there may be government school people but what is the quality of education you are getting? Okay, where do you place yourself vis-a-vis the fellow who studies in Ambani school? So the schooling system, the education system, now because of the privatization of higher education, the higher education system all looks like Varna system. Okay, everywhere we used to think that studying in a central university like JNU was a great thing. Now, no, today no. You need to study either in Ashoka or Jindal or so the new superior neo-Brahmin has emerged within the education system. So education system has become thoroughly hierarchical from school to university. So does this kind of structural transformation in the education system empower or disempower the Shudras? That's the question we need to ask. So the most important aspect of this decline of social justice politics, because today, I mean, still we continue to talk in terms of reservations, okay, in terms of privatization and all that. Reservations in private sector, I mean, it's like a huge, colossal dragon. Where do you have place in that? They give you some place, but would they allow you to survive there? A fellow who gets because of reservation? No. So therefore, the only solution to this is demanding for regeneration of public education. So also health. So these are the resources which must be made available to everybody. That should be the central aspect of social justice politics, not reservations, not critique of privatization alone. Then you see the crisis in the anti-caste movements in terms of what is the state of Dalit movement today? What is the state of backward caste Bahujan movement? Okay, most of them are co-opted by the dominant forces. So in this kind of context, I mean, electoral process, has become thoroughly transformed, as a result of which they have, especially the Hindutva organizations have evolved very nuanced kind of micromanagement of elections, because the contradictions within the Bahujans, okay, are effective. Bahujans and Dalits are being effectively used by these forces to gain their support, and therefore attain political power. So there's a massive, colossal kind of change. Against this background, we must think about the relevance of Phule. So how is Phule once again relevant? Because Phule said that the Shudra Ati Shudras would be able to achieve social transformation only through truthful means. Satyashodak is not just name of, like we have our son named Harichandra, but every day we teach him to tell lies in innovative ways. No, not namesake. We knew that Satya, truth-based politics and society alone would emancipate the Shudrati Shudras. So most important aspect of underpinning of anti-caste politics is truth, Satya. Today we have forgotten that. What is ruling roost today? Asatya, fake news. So fake has become very, how elusively you can fake. The most important fellow is the fellow who brilliantly fakes without being caught. Eventually will be caught, that's a different thing. So first is Satya, truth. Okay, so Phule is important. Phule was also a very important thinker to recognize the importance of education. Look at his submission to the Hunter Commission. Okay, where he said that please pay attention to the education of Shudra Ati Shudra. Otherwise, people like Ranade and other Gopalakrishna Gokhale and all those people were said first give education to the upper caste. So if you give education to the upper caste, it will percolate and reach the lower caste. Phule said no, it will remain there only. Education is not like water, it will percolate. But today also we talk about percolation. No, it will not percolate, it will remain there only. Phule said no, you pay special, serious, detailed attention to the education of Shudra, then only. So remember that, Phule's submission to the Hunter Commission. Today that is more relevant today because education, instead of being the domain and site of inclusion, has become the platform of exclusion. Exclude people by giving them low quality education. Okay? Inappropriate education. Education which will not empower you. So therefore second important thing. Thirdly, we must be seekers of knowledge. Shodhana. So knowledge alone, inquiry alone will empower us. So therefore when you talk about relevance of Phule, I think we need to remember these essential, critical, central aspects of Phule's thinking and also Phule's Satyashodak movement. So therefore Phule is very important. Not because we just respect him, because we can ask questions. He allows us to interrogate him, allows us to ask questions, and it depends on our truthfulness, our capacity to elicit proper answers. Okay? So interrogate with Phule, not only Phule, even Ambedkar. That's how you pay your respectful homage to these great anti-caste thinkers, not by mechanically imitating them and merely getting into idol worship. Put the photo and garlanding. No, that will not solve the problem. That will create further. Anyway, thank you very much for your patient hearing. And thanks to Venkat also for giving me time without disrupting me.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful lecture after the post-lunch session. So we have question taken from the after two lectures, sir. So now I call upon today's special invitee and I grace the occasion of this valedictory function, Professor G. Mallesham, sir. Please come. Professor G. Mallesham, sir, Dean, Development and UGC Affairs now. Professor from the Electrical Engineering. He is also Vice President of OUTA, Osmania University Teachers Association. He hailed from the, now I request Dr. Sujana, BTech from Osmania University, MTech and also the PhD from the IIT New Delhi, postdoc from the Yale University, USA. Sir also many positions in our Osmania University. He is holding several positions and a very busy person nowadays. He is also our big brother to encouraging these academic activities also. Thank you once again, sir. So now I invite Dr. C.H. Srinivas, Department of Physics, deliver his lecture.
So good evening, dignitaries on the dais and learned colleagues and scholars and students of the dais. And amidst all these stalwarts, I would like to give this particular presentation regarding contemporary relevance of Mahatma Jyotiba Phule. And as you know that he is the inspiration and source for the oppressed classes. And Indian society is in a state of flux today. And I will consider first the contemporary issues and how Jyotiba Phule is relevant to that. So presently the Indian society is so in a state of flux, the way it was during the time of Phule. Issues surrounding caste, inferior status of women, pathetic conditions of farmers, double helix of politics and religion, and decline of welfare state concept, and promoting Sanatana Dharma over Constitution of India, and psychophancy of nationalism, and majoritarian governance, and corporatization and subjugation of fourth estate, and economical distress, and chain of oppressions and creating mental slavery in the form of a Hindu-Muslim conflict. These are some crucial issues that we have been facing today. Apart from this, the present context, we have as India, the World Press Freedom Index ranking, we have 161 out of 180 nations. So the World Press Freedom Index ranking is clearly indicative how dominating the majoritarian rule that we had. In 2005, we have the rank of 106, and 2023 we have been reached to or falling to 161 out of 180 nations. And in the environmental ranking, when we consider present India, is 107 out of 121 nations. So it is also very declining in nature. And global hunger ranking, pathetically Rwanda and Ethiopia has been overranked us. So that is our position in the global hunger ranking. And Human Development Index, 132 out of 191 nations. So all these indicators truly indicative of inequality in wealth and power that we have been in the present context. In the last 8 years, the non-performing assets at the banks, we have 12 lakh crores of non-performing assets. As you know that non-performing asset in the sense loans have been given not having any hope to recover it. And it has been technically considered as an acceptable thing. And which is siphoned money from the bank safely with the help of a political power. And this is 4 to 5 times more than the internationally accepted range. This 12 lakh crores is 4 to 5 times more than the internationally accepted range. And profitable Navaratnas are handed over to corporate friends of political power. This is the current crux that we have been undergoing in the majoritarian way. And one important consideration at this context is very relevant. The tax billionaire list, 1991, we have 0 billionaires in this country. In 1991, why I consider that is it is the internationally we have been accepting globalization process and privatization, GP, globalization, privatization and liberalization has been considering in that particular context. And 2014 to 2023 now, within this 2014 why I am taking and 2023 present context, when you consider these things, 166 billionaires that we have now. In the 9 years, we have been producing 1 billionaire at the rate of 20 days. Each 20 days, 1 billionaire is added to this country. And how the money is siphoned, how we have been in a position to get it this. This is very, very crucial. And country going towards the South Asian NAM, political science scholars know that. South Asian NAM in the sense Myanmar and Sri Lanka is Buddhist countries in the South Asian nations. And Pakistan, Bangladesh is theocratic Islamic nations. And the India is also heading towards the Hindu nation. This is the situation where we have been standing now. This is very, very pathetic in nature. And judiciary, when you try to consider the judiciary, it is very pathetic that failed to check excess executive nature at the cost of core values of the Indian Constitution. It is failed to check that. How I am saying that it is failing to check it? Not hearing the Kashmir issue and not hearing the CIA conflict. It is not hearing. This is very, very important consideration. All these are our positions, where we are now, India, where we have been, contemporary society, where it is now residing. Amidst this current scenario, we have a NEP, National Education Policy 2021, come into the picture, and focused on flexibility, multidisciplinarity, creativity, critical thinking, life skills, ethics, human and constitutional values. All these things are envisaged in the NEP. But what is the praxis that really happening outside? Critical thinking develops through a questioning and dissent. It is always be considered as through questioning and dissent. Critical thinking has always existed. But practically one can understand treatments at JNU, treatment at CIE protest, and the present women wrestlers issue. We can understand how far this is praxis. Possibility is there in having a critical thinking with a dissent. To become a sensible citizen, one should provide a liberal arts and humanities to flourish in this educational system. Due to excessive focusing for the last 30 years on professional education, we provided amoral, competent professionals that we are witnessing now. And all persons who have been sitting in the helm of affair in the professional suitable positions, they are immoral towards all these social issues which is happening outside. And currently we have 70% of higher education, 70% of higher education in the hands of the private propagators, and almost 100% of school education. This is always almost 100% in the private operators. This is where the education is need to be so relevant, but unfortunately it is not. That sir has been trying to explain just now how education is important. And our investment in that educational systems, when you consider 4.2% GDP of South Korea has been investing 4.2%, 4.3% Israel, 2.8% GDP is invested in the USA context, 2% in China, 0.69% India, and we want to become a Vishwaguru with this investment. This is the contemporary society where we are living. Education is generally a backbone of any economy or any country, and if the government is not in a position to provide enough jobs, it should at least provide affordable education. This affordable is very important. Nowadays education is not going to be an affordable thing. We have been creating two types of Indias from the childhood onwards, since the child born. One is aiming towards the IIT with the affordability. One who is not in a position to aim to the higher education in a proper way in the government schools. Intentionally, state is operating in such a way that not providing a quality education in all state-headed colleges or schools or anything by not fulfilling that particular employment. This is very important consideration to me. And today's time, one must revisit at this particular way. In today's time, one must revisit the thought and ideology of an indigenous thinkers like Phule. Such an attempt has potential to reinterpret our contemporary social reality. And this is always be considered. And it is worth mentioning here, I quote and unquote Dr.B.R.Ambedkar at this juncture. Let others go where they will. We will follow the path of Jyotiba. We may or may not make marks with us, but we will certainly not abandon Jyotiba Phule and his philosophy. This is what the true concept that has been undertook by that particular great stalwart nationalist, a sort of thinker and downtrodden thinker, Dr.B.R.Ambedkar. Now it is absolutely essential to revive Phule's egalitarian ideas of self-respect, dignity, and most important, equality in present polarized society. Phule has seen the dynamics between caste, class, patriarchy, and authoritarian rule, which divide the society into many camps. Onslaught majoritarian domination need to be addressed properly, and weaker sections are deprived education. Historically, they are prohibited, that we know, and same repeated in the form of affordability of education in the present privatization concept way. In May 1938, addressing Dakshin Konkan Panchmahal Aspursha Parishad, Dr.B.R.Ambedkar said, I quote him, "The British will leave India, but will have to face the capitalists and priests." This is the quotation given by the Dr. B.R.Ambedkar in 1938. And presently we have been, in his addressing that particular priest class, Brahmanism symbolizes with the priest class and corporates are symbolized with the capitalists. In now present context, we can consider that way. So therefore, this present generation has to face the capitalists and priests in the sense we have to face the Brahmanical and corporates in such a manner. Their perfect synchronization is relatively recent phenomena and indeed unprecedented phenomena. This is what we have, this synchronization between Brahmanical ideology and capitalistic way. They are synchronized in such a manner, and we are witnessing how can a communal majority run away with the title deeds given to a political majority. This we understood in the Maharashtra, Hoshiar, who has been governor of that, and in Manipur we have been observing it, how the communal majority is trying to capture the political majority. This is happening, and these are the serious issues that we have been living in the contemporary society. And today, an honest Ambedkar and Phule should fight against this synchronization. This is very important. This synchronization and the resultant inertia seems to be gripping the country in the near future. Already it is gripped and it has been percolated into bottom of that particular society. In the present context, his methods and approaches are more relevant, uphold constitutionalism against religious intolerance, and creating representative democracy, which is a vaccine against autocracy and oligarchy from form of democracy. And we require, most importantly, why the judiciary is not in a position to tune to the expectations of the country, that is, the judiciary is not represented in a proper way, pluralistic way. So rainbow judiciary, as per Professor Mohan Gopal, rainbow judiciary is required. Representative judiciary is a need of the hour, and for that also this society, the present problem that we have, rainbow judiciary need to be exist. And one of the long-lasting legacies of Phule's thought is his systematic destruction, deconstruction and reconstruction of history, and he put forward an effective alternative history through the lens of Dalit Bahujan community. And he analyzed the structure of Indian society and identified the need of joining Shudra Atishudra as a leading agency for social change and social revolution, which is the only way out for the contemporary issues. So therefore, in the present context, whatever the problems that we have been facing, and there is an answer in assimilating these things into in a constructive way, this Dalit Bahujan community together will be in a position to Shudra Shudra unity, can be in a position to fight it back. In the monolithic way of Hinduism, we will be in a position to restore ourselves in a proper way, in contextual way. In that particular context, Phule is relevant more than his times. So therefore, this is my humble submission at this particular gathering. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Floor for open. Please.
Good afternoon to all. Jyotiba Phule, हम नहीं आपको भूले. We always remember you because you have solved the very genuine issues of that time, like peasant issues. Jyotiba Phule wrote Shetkarancha Ashad. In that he mentioned the peasant issues. Today also we have the peasant issues, like 3 policies of the government. We have to solve this issue. We have education system, education issue. Today very costly fees, and we have no more basic education is costly, school education, now it is all privatization. So Jyotiba Phule along with Savitribai Phule, they taught free education. That we need now, free education. Again, for employment, as sir was telling very clearly that we have lost much of the employment because of the domination of the dominant caste. So we have to regain the employment. That is more important now. So crucial, genuine issues of that time and today also we are facing this kind of issues. So sir, in this context, now what are our intellectual initiatives? Like we see Chanakya during that time to unite India when India was divided into, like, we have that time 16 Mahajanapadas, Shodasha Mahajanapadas, and there was foreign invasions like Alexander and Seleucus Nicator, many of them. So how Chanakya at that time tried to unite India, the intellectual role he played. Now how we can see, we are doing now awareness through the organizing seminars, analytical presentations and all. Apart from this, how we can solve this costly education to free education, how can we get, and how can we solve the present issues in present government. We are understanding present government is more communal, fake government, fake certificates. The leaders are telling the fake certificates, fake degrees. So in this context now, how intellectual can play a role? Thank you, sir.
సార్ నా పేరు అజయ్, రీసెర్చ్ స్కాలర్, డిపార్ట్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ హిస్టరీ. సో నా క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే ఈ సెషన్కి సంబంధించి కాదు, మెయిన్గా టోటల్గా సెమినార్కి సంబంధించి మార్నింగ్ నుండి ఇప్పటి వరకు నేను గమనించిన విషయం నుండి నాకు వచ్చిన ఒక థాట్ క్వశ్చన్ రూపంలో అడగదలుచుకున్నా. ఇక్కడ మెయిన్గా ఏంటంటే మహాత్మా జ్యోతిబాలే ఫూలే మహాత్మాగా కంపేర్డ్ అయిన సందర్భంగా ఇది పెట్టినటువంటి విషయంలో బీసీస్ నుండి ఒక మూమెంట్ తీసుకురావాలి, బీసీస్ని ఎంకరేజ్ దాంట్లో చైతన్యం తీసుకురావాలనే ఒక మెయిన్ ఫోకస్ అనేది ఇక్కడ సెమినార్లో కనిపిస్తుంది. సో అంటే నేను అడగాల్సిన క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే జ్యోతిరావు పూలే గారు మహాత్మా ఎట్లా అయ్యారనంటే ఆయన మెయిన్గా ఫోకస్డ్ ఆన్ దళిత్స్. ఎవరైతే దళిత్స్ డౌన్ రాడ్ అని ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళకు ఎడ్యుకేషన్ చేయడం వల్ల, ఉమెన్స్కి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇవ్వడం వల్ల ఆయన మహాత్మా అయ్యాడు. సో ఇప్పుడున్నటువంటి ఎవరైతే బీసీ ఇంటెలెక్చువల్స్ ఉన్నారో, ఇప్పుడున్నటువంటి ఎవరైతే బీసీ ప్రజల్లో చైతన్యం కావాలని పోరాడుతున్నారో వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా మెయిన్గా దళిత్ మీద ఫస్ట్ ఫోకస్ చేసి దళిత్స్ని ప్లస్ బీసీస్ని ఇద్దరిని కలిపి బహుజన రాజ్యాధికారం కోసం పోరాడితే ఆటోమేటిక్గా ఈ వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా ఇన్వర్ట్ అయ్యి ఇండియాలో ఒక రూలింగ్ పొజిషన్లోకి వస్తారు కదా అనేది నా క్వశ్చన్. అంటే మెయిన్గా ఫస్ట్ ఈ సెమినార్ స్టార్ట్ అయిన నుండి కూడా మెయిన్గా ఈ పాయింట్ ఏమైనా మిస్ అవుతుందా అనేది నా క్వశ్చన్ సార్. సో ఇక్కడ మీరు దీన్ని కంక్లూడ్ చేయాల్సిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను
సార్. నా ప్రశ్న ఏమంటే ఏదైనా అసలు నాకేంటి అనేది ప్రశ్న. నేను ఇక్కడికి వచ్చా, నాకేంటి, ఏదో యాక్టివిటీ చేస్తున్నా, నాకేంటి. బీసీస్ ఎక్కువగా కూడా ఆ నాకేంట్లో పడిపోయి పూలేని పట్టుకోలేదు. పూలేని ఎందుకు పట్టుకోలేదంటే పూలేలో ఎక్కడ కూడా బీసీ అనేవాడు డైరెక్ట్గా కనపడలేదు. ఆ టైంలో శూద్ర గురించి మాట్లాడినప్పుడు బీసీ అనేవాడు ఐడెంటిఫై అవడానికి పూలేలో ఏం కనపడలేదు. సో పూలేని పట్టుకోవడానికి అందులో నాకేంటి పూలే నాకేం చెప్పాడు. పూలే ఎస్ఎస్ గురించి చెప్పొచ్చు, పూలే దళిత్స్ గురించి చెప్పొచ్చు తప్ప నాకేం చెప్పలేదు. కనుక నేను పూలేని పట్టుకోవాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు అనే ఒక రాంగ్ ప్రిజంప్షన్లోకి బీసీ ఎప్పుడైతే పోయిందో పూలేని బీసీస్ పట్టుకోవడంలో ఫెయిల్ అయినారు. అది అంబేద్కర్ని ఎస్సీస్ పట్టుకోవడంలో సక్సెస్ అవ్వడానికి తీసినారు. అంబేద్కర్ డైరెక్ట్గా అంబేద్కర్ మాట్లాడిన ప్రతి సందర్భం కూడా ఎస్సీస్ ప్రతి అందరూ ఐడెంటిఫై అవుతారు అంబేద్కర్తో. అది నా గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాడు, నా విషయం మాట్లాడుతున్నాడు, నా హక్కుల గురించి మాట్లాడాడు, నా గోస ఆయన విన్నాడు అనేది ఎస్సీ ఐడెంటిఫై అయినట్టుగా బీసీస్ ఐడెంటిఫై కాదు. బీసీస్ ఐడెంటిఫై ఎప్పుడైతే పూలేతో కాలేకపోయినారో ఈరోజు ఉన్నటువంటి సమస్య కావచ్చు, అది ఉన్నటువంటి ఇంటలెక్చువల్ స్టిగ్మా కావచ్చు, లేకపోతే ఆ యొక్క గ్యాప్ ఏదైతే ఉందో దాన్ని బ్రిడ్జ్ చేయటంలో మిగతా బీసీ ఇంటలెక్చువల్స్ కూడా ఫెయిల్ అయినారు. రెండోది కూడా ఇంకో సమస్య ఏమంటే కొద్ది గొప్ప బీసీ ఇంటలెక్చువల్స్ ఎవరైతే వచ్చారో వీళ్ళందరూ కొంచెం లెఫ్ట్ ఓరియంటేషన్తో బయటకు వచ్చి, లెఫ్ట్ థింకింగ్తో బయటకు వచ్చి వీళ్ళు ఎస్సీస్తో అడాప్ట్ అయ్యి వాళ్ళకి ఎస్సీసీ చేయాలి, ఎస్సీస్తో మనం ఉండాలనేటువంటి దీంతో బీసీ సమాజాన్ని కూడా ఇంటలెక్చువల్స్ వాళ్ళు బీసీ ఇంటలెక్చువల్స్ నెగ్లెక్ట్ చేశారు. అది కూడా ఒక పెద్ద గ్యాప్ కనపడుతూ ఉంది. దాన్ని పూరించడానికి, దాని ఆ గ్యాప్ని బ్రిడ్జ్ అప్ చేయడానికి ఇప్పుడు ఏదైనా మనం యాక్షన్ ప్లాన్ ఏమైనా కావాలి.
Very good evening to you all. Dr. Dinsey, Department of Economics, Board of Studies Chairperson. So let me introduce myself like that I have introduced. And I would like to congratulate the organizers, first of all, for organizing such a wonderful gathering. Really, sir, appreciate you all the cells of the organizers, SC, ST, PC, minority cells. And what I have observed with this lecture, so what are the these Mahanila Utsavalu we are celebrated. So their Mahanila ideology really, to all of us, open an eye. It's opening an eye to every individual, those who belongs to this country and those who are sufferers. For every individual, it's eye-opening. So we have to live up to their ideologies, especially the genuine causes for what they have fight in those days. Now also we have to fight for that, and at least we have to get our minimum rights, what we deserve in this country. So we need to keep up these ideologies, and we need to spread about all the communities which are sufferers. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
ఇంకొక చిన్నది యాడ్ చేయాలని, అంటే పూలేని అలా చూడకుండా మండలి వచ్చేటప్పటికి బీసీస్ ఎక్కువగా మండలిని ఓన్ చేసుకుంటారు. ఎందుకంటే మండలి కమిషన్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత నాకు ఏదో కొంత దొరికింది, అది రిజర్వేషన్ రూపం కావచ్చు, ఇంకోటి కావచ్చు, నాకు కొంత దొరికింది. సో మండలిని ఓన్ చేసుకోవటంలో వాడు కొంచెం ముందుకు వస్తాం. కనుక మండలిని మనం తీసుకొచ్చేటప్పుడు పూలేని మండలిని కలిపి ఎట్లా చూడాలి, అది చూసినప్పుడు అదేమన్నా మనం వాళ్ళకి ఒక పార్ట్ ఫైండింగ్ ఏమైనా ఇవ్వగలమా? ఎందుకంటే చాలామంది బీసీస్ మండలాన్ని కానీ దీనివల్ల నాకు 27% రిజర్వేషన్ వచ్చింది, అది ఎంతో 42 రికమెండేషన్స్లో 1-2 వచ్చింది, దానివల్ల కొంత గొప్ప నేను బెనిఫిట్ పొందినాను. అంత బెనిఫిట్ అనేది పూలే దగ్గర మనకు కనపడలేదు. అంటే ఒక థియరిటికల్ బేస్ ఉంది, ప్రాక్టికల్ బేస్కి వచ్చేటప్పటికి కన్వర్షన్లో తేడా వస్తుంది. కాబట్టి ఈ రెండింటిని వీళ్ళిద్దరిని కలిపి చూస్తే ఏమైనా ఉపయోగం ఉంటుందా, దానికి సంబంధించిన సూచన ఏమన్నా మనం చేయగలం. నా పేరు సత్యనారాయణ అండి. నేను థ్యాంక్స్ టు ప్రొఫెసర్ శ్రీనివాసులు సార్. ఈ సెంట్ మీ ఇన్విటేషన్, ఈజ్ మై మెంటార్ ఇన్ సో మెనీ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్. నేను రైల్వేస్లో పనిచేస్తాను. కాకపోతే ఇలాంటి సెమినార్స్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అటెండ్ చేయడం దానికోసం. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
సార్, నా పేరు ప్రభాకర్ అండి. తెలంగాణ టీచర్స్ ఫోరం నుంచి సెమినార్కి అటెండ్ అయ్యాను. చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్గా ఉంది. కాకపోతే ఇది చాలా విస్తృతంగా పూలేని, అంబేద్కర్ని బయటకు తీసుకుపోవాల్సింది ఇట్లాంటి 4 గోడల మధ్య జరగటం నాలాంటి వాడికి అయితే కొంచెం ఆవేదనగా ఉంది. యూనివర్సిటీలో కూడా నిజానికి చాలామంది పిల్లలు ఉంటారు, రీసెర్చ్ స్కాలర్స్ ఉంటారు, ఎక్కువ మంది ఇన్వాల్వ్ అవుతారని చెప్పి విందామని వచ్చాను. చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్గా ఉంది సార్ చెప్పినటువంటి విషయాలు వింటున్నప్పుడు. మేము బయట రూరల్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్లో పిల్లల దగ్గర పనిచేస్తున్నప్పుడు ఇవాళ ఒక విచిత్రమైన పరిస్థితి మీరు చూస్తున్నారు. మల్లికార్జున అనే ఒక టీచర్ తరగతి గదిలో పాఠం చెప్పలేని ఒక స్థితి ఉన్నది. సిబిఎస్ఈ సిలబస్ అంతా మారిపోతూ ఉన్నది. అంబేద్కర్ డెమోక్రసీ పాఠాన్ని కూడా తీసేశారు. ఇవాళైతే ఆయన పూలే గారు చెప్పినట్టుగా, మనుస్మృతి చెప్పినట్టుగా మనుషులు భుజాల నుంచి, తొడల నుంచి, పాదాల నుంచి పుట్టరు. మా అమ్మ కడుపులో నుంచి పుట్టిన వాళ్ళకి ఎన్ని యూనిట్లు ఉంటాయని ప్రశ్నించినటువంటి మనిషి అట్లాంటి ఒక సైంటిఫిక్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఉండాల్సిన చోట దాన్ని తొలగించినటువంటి స్థితిలో ఇవాళ యూనివర్సిటీలో సదస్సు జరుగుతూ ఉంది. కనుక ఇది ఎన్ఈపి మోడల్లో జరిగినా, ఇంకొక మోడల్లో జరిగినా ఒక సాఫ్ట్వేరైజేషన్లోకి వెళ్ళిపోయాం. కనుక దీన్ని ఎదుర్కోవడం ఎట్లా అనేది ఒకటి. సార్ మాట్లాడుతూ చెప్పారు, ఇవాళ ఎన్ఐపి కాదు, మొత్తంగా ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ప్రైవేటైజ్ అయిపోయింది. ఉస్మానియా యూనివర్సిటీ కూడా ఖాళీలతోటి విలసిల్లుతున్నది. తెలంగాణ కానీ లేకపోతే దేశవ్యాప్తంగా చూసినా కూడా ఎక్కడ చూడొచ్చినా గవర్నమెంట్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అనేది టోటల్గా అబాలిష్మెంట్లోకి వెళ్ళిపోతున్న సందర్భం చూస్తున్నాం. సార్ చెప్పారు, వేరే ప్రైవేట్ యూనివర్సిటీలో చదివితే తప్ప ఖచ్చితంగా లేని పరిస్థితి. కనుక ఆయన అన్నట్టుగానే అండర్ కమిషన్ చెప్పినట్టుగా ఇవాళ శూద్ర కమ్యూనిటీస్కి లేదా అతిశూద్ర కమ్యూనిటీస్కి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అందాలంటే ఆ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఒక కామన్ మోడ్లో ఉంటే తప్ప సాధ్యం కాదని దేశవ్యాప్తంగా ఇవాళ ఒక మూమెంట్ జరగవలసిన సందర్భం ఉన్నది. కానీ యూనివర్సిటీస్ లేదా రీసెర్చ్ స్కాలర్స్ మనలాంటి వాళ్ళని చాలా సైలెంట్గా ఉన్న సందర్భం లోపల మనం పూలే గారి యొక్క థాట్ని ఎట్లా ముందుకు తీసుకుపోవాలనేది నా ప్రశ్న ఇద్దరు సార్.
Hello. Thank you for your very lively responses. I must tell Venkat that the seminar is successful because people have started thinking and asking questions. The purpose of the seminar is to ask questions, not just to nod the head and go. Okay. When there are so many questions, it's not. Each question needs full and lengthy treatment. That I don't think is possible. But the concern with the attack on education system, on universities, okay, calling them tukte gangs. How can a university be tukte gang? On one hand, it shows the intellectual poverty of the rulers. The regime which is in power today, okay, is extremely anti-intellectual. Because a major threat it feels comes from the intellectuals, especially from historians. Because history today, throughout history we see many high points when history was the battleground of struggle and contestation. Okay. Today that kind of movement we are passing through. That's why removal of Ambedkar from the history lesson, political science lesson, removal of Buddhism from history, okay, or Mughal period. That shows the anti-intellectual nature of the regime and also poverty of its thinking. And I must tell you, it naturally disturbs us. Because progress is possible only when there is a free atmosphere. Tagore said, where the mind is without fear. So when there is that kind of liberal, okay, free atmosphere, where people think and ask questions. Obviously, it's not important. It's not that you ask a question when the question paper is revealed. Like you already ask questions and then I answer here. No. You should ask such questions which would disturb you, okay, which would unsettle. So the importance of universities, the importance of intellectuals, because somebody raised about intellectuals, is to unsettle the society. That in the modern period, maybe in the Buddhist period, it was the philosophers, intellectuals used to ask difficult, unsettling questions. We all know the debates that happened between Buddhists and non-Buddhists, and regimes totally try to eliminate Buddhism. Okay, so what we see today, the kind of attack that we see, intellectual, cultural attack that we see in India today is not something new. We have seen much more aggressive, violent attacks in the past also. The history of Buddhism, the history of Ajivakas, okay, Jains, and subsequent thinkers clearly, groups of schools of thought clearly show that instead of settling the intellectual disputes through argumentation, they were basically trying to eliminate. So when you can't answer the question, you eliminate the fellow who is asking the question. Easy way. So that is so we need to, if you have a long historical view, then, of course it is disturbing, but you will not get so disturbed that you will stop thinking and stop doing your job. So now the question is, what should we do? Obviously, when Gandhi said something beautiful, if you stop me by doing something, I will do it more and more. Gandhi is a very unique political figure in the history of Indian nationalist movement. Because whenever the police used to file an FIR and produce him before the judge, first thing is to say that I plead guilty. I have violated the law. Not because I am bad, because the law is bad. So if you follow the law, punish me, I am ready to accept that. Look at, that means he is trying to demonstrate that his stature is morally superior to that of the stature of the law. And one British judge who who thought that it's morally, his position is morally correct. He said that, I'm sorry, as a judge, I have to implement the law. But otherwise, in my personal capacity, I think you are right. The law is wrong. Okay? So this struggle between the state, political regimes, law, and intellectuals' alternative belief system is a continuous process. Okay? Take it in that spirit. Only when you take it in that spirit, you will be able to continue the struggle. Otherwise, you will accept defeat and stay back at home. That is not the solution. So the struggle will continue. And obviously, I think finally, reason, logic, truth, Satya have to triumph. Victory will be of Satya, truth, not of untruth. So that is the belief, that basic belief should be there with us. Now the major fault line that we see in India today, okay, there are several fault lines, but one very important fault line is the weakening of education system. It is happening at two levels. One is at the level of the very structure of education, by putting in irrational things and removing the rational things. Okay? What kind of history is appropriate history? Should we include Mughals or not? Why we should not? I mean, we are trying to simplify the whole thing and show that this is proper, this is not proper, so we will do that. This is very simple thing. I mean, you just substitute that, but at another level what is happening, which is a more alarming thing, is try to change the very structure of education system. Okay? Weaken the public education system and augment the private education system. And private education is also like Varna is very, I mean, there is a neighborhood school, small school, which charges 100 or 200 rupees. It's called Princeton School. And I'm sure the teachers and the fellow who established the school doesn't know what is Princeton. Street, వీధి బడి ఉంటుంది, వీధి బడి కూడా ప్రిన్స్టన్, హార్వర్డ్ స్కూల్ అని పెడతారు పాపం. That's at one level. At another level, higher level, you have Ambani kind of schools. So even the private education is also hierarchized. That I think is the danger, weakening of the public education. Okay, presenting private education as the only solution. Okay, because state is inefficient, market alone can take care of. So education is presented as a marketable commodity. But there again there is gradation. I think this is the most important fault line in India today. If this continues, I think you will have very clear, crystallized segmentation of society. Okay, when there is an all-inclusive kind of school for all kinds of classes, there you learn from each other. Rich, poor, higher caste, lower caste. If every kid is going to the same common school, then it's a learning process of different kind. There is a different kind of socialization. But if you have massive kind of privatization, kids of the same kind of background go to that particular school. So there is no question of learning from each other. Okay? So as a result of which, the privatization of education leads to further impoverishment of education and resultant socialization. Okay? This raises a very, very serious question about the nature of citizenship in the country. What kind of citizen are you going to create? The Western democracies are still thriving because there is common education. If you take France, Germany, Netherlands, England is slightly different. America is obviously different. Every child is taught the same kind of education, more or less with the same kind of trained teachers and same kind of facilities. Therefore, there is notional equality among all the children would become, there is every likelihood of them becoming responsible citizens. But in Indian kind of context, the citizenship itself becomes internally unequal. I mean, it's a serious political, theoretical, philosophical issue, but all will not be the same kind of citizens. Okay? So there is no common, there will not be common citizenship. And if that kind of ambition is created through this quality education, what would be the nature of democracy? What would be the nature of political life? You may not see it immediately, maybe after a decade, 2 decades, when these kids come to vote. Okay, just imagine, seriously. I mean, to put it very simply, you may be a very good technocrat, you may be a very good IT specialist, but you will be a very bad citizen. You will not have any respect to your fellow citizen. You will not respect the fellow who does manual labor. Okay? So can that kind of person, even if it's a good engineer or a doctor, is a desirable kind of person in a democracy? Is the question. Because only through a proper, equal, interactive, plural education system and exposure to humanities. I mean, how can you become a good citizen without exposure to literature, music, good things of human civilization? We may not know how to operate the keyboard and the computer, but you don't know other things. Okay? So that is the kind of problem. And it's going to be more intense. There I think our struggle has to. So there's a larger macro issue that we must do. So it's a clearly there is a very serious, dangerous fault lines developing, and the root of that is education. How should Shudras and Atushudras come to power? I mean, just before election, I see BCs, Dalits having political meetings. And every fellow, I mean, I also was invited somewhere. Now I have stopped attending because it's waste of time for me. Because you choose a different, I have basically chosen myself to do writing. So I will write. What's the point in it? Then I made an inquiry. Who are these people who are coming and giving very energetic kind of speeches? All those fellows are essentially those who are denied tickets by the political parties. If they were to be given political, they wouldn't have come to this meeting. Are defeated in the election. They find these are the venues to ventilate their frustration. Okay? Now the point is that just because you are 50%, I mean, in every BC meeting is a BCs are 52%. So therefore, if we give our vote to our own candidates, we will come to power. But is it that simple? Is it just a question? If a particular political formation has to capture power, is it just enough to have a number? Or are there other things that should accompany? I'll just give you a simple example. How could somebody like N.T. Ramarao come to power in 1982 within less than a year after establishing the party? Just because he's a popular cinema actor. I mean, there was another equally popular, perhaps more popular cinema actor who failed at the polls. I don't need to give the name. Not only in Andhra Pradesh but also in Tamil Nadu. But what made N.T. Ramarao successful? Because the community from in which he has originated is the community which is controlling. So there are 2-3 levels, okay, which need to be synchronized to come to power. Political level, having a political party, having that political consciousness. But beneath that, you need to have the popular education, political education. That is possible only when you have media. N.T. Ramarao had media. N.T. Ramaro's community was financially, economically powerful. They had the money. A lot of NRI money came to TDP party. So that means all that paraphernalia, in fact, catapulted him into the chief ministership. So all these fellows who come and talk about BC 52 and, I mean, so many meetings. You know what? They are all WhatsApp warriors. Behind, if he looks back, even his shadow will not be there. It will disappear. Run away from him. They will come and say we are 52 and we should be. So for that you need to have a long preparation. Intellectual, ideological, political, organizational preparation is required. Okay. So it's a matter of serious thought and preparation. Why these lower castes, okay, are not able to exhibit political acumen? See, any community will have its social existence can be divided into 2-3 layers. One is the basic economic livelihood level. First, I need to have my livelihood. Okay. So my entire day, okay, spent thinking about that. Only when there is a leisure class within that community, a middle class develops. Okay, then that middle class has time, leisure. We all are leisure class. Somebody else is producing food and somebody else is cooking food and it's coming onto our table. So you just go and eat. You don't need to think of it. Look at a wild animal. Look at even your street dog. 24 hours it only thinks about food. What else does it do? So when you are economically weak, your struggle is like that. Okay? Everyday struggle. So when a social class, middle class develops, leisure class develops, that class would be able to. Now what is happening in the context of present Hindutva neoliberal regime is, this middle class is impoverished. They are not intellectually equipped to think about. So weak intellectuality of this middle class is biggest danger. In 50s, 60s, 70s, that was not the case. But today, in the last one decade, this process of impoverishment of intellectual impoverishment of middle classes assumed widerness and also rapidity, speed with which it's happening. So at one level, economic struggle. Then you equip yourself with ideas, thinking. Then at third level, you organize yourself. Okay? So these three levels have to be simultaneously, not separately, not one after another, simultaneously have to be addressed and accomplished. Are we doing that? That's the question which we need to ask. Coming to Satyana Gari's question, I mean, I basically disagree with this division of Phule as backward caste person, Ambedkar as Dalit. I mean, let us not reduce these great thinkers, great visionaries to specific castes. I agree that it's unfortunate that only some castes are appropriate. Ambedkar means, once there was some Phule Jayanti and somebody, I will not give the name of the university because that will be good. I don't want to let the secret, dirty secret out. So somebody came to me and picked me up. Then we had to travel 3 hours. So while going, obviously I have a lot of time. The fellow who came to take me was a sociology lecturer. Then he was telling me, he was giving me background. Indirectly he was hinting at what I should speak. He said, sir, in our university there is a problem between SCs and BCs. And SCs have celebrated Ambedkar Jayanti and they had some 5 feet Ambedkar photo. So competing them, we have made 6 feet Phule photo. I mean, like you, I was just laughing within me, not exhibiting my laughter outside. Then he was telling me, sir, you must give, indirectly, very politely, telling me that by using Phule, you should give the Dalits of my university fitting answer. I mean, I was very furious, but I controlled myself and said that, చూడు మిత్రమా నేనేం మాట్లాడాలో అన్నీ నువ్వే చెప్తే నేను ఎందుకు నీవే చేయొచ్చు కదా, నేను వెళ్ళిపోతే ఇక్కడ నుండి అన్న. యూ స్టాప్ ద కార్ హియర్, ఐ విల్ టేక్ ఎ బస్, యూ డోంట్ నీడ్ టు గివ్ మీ ద కార్ ఆల్సో. దెన్ don't, so my answer is, and I gave this answer and also giving that, let us not reduce these great thinkers to specific castes. Definitely Ambedkar's attention was on the untouchables because that is the essence of it. Second important thing is that what are the common features, common fault lines, common problems the Dalits and backward castes are facing. Okay, can we, is there any possibility of these major segments, Shudra, Ati Shudras, coming together on some common platform? It's not only Shudra, Ati Shudra, not only between Dalits and backward castes. Within the backward castes, there are serious problems. Why is BJP successful in UP? Because the long rule of Samajwadi Party in UP, because in UP, the Samajwadi Party is essentially seen as a Yadav party. In Bihar, Rashtriya Janata Dal, RJD, is essentially Sheen and a Yadav party. And the long period that they were in power for more than a decade and a half, unfortunately, it's the Yadavas whose presence in the social domain, in economic domain, political domain become very, very vocal. So if it is a visionary, I mean, these two people come from socialist background, Mallesham Singh and Lalu. They come from low-hate socialist movement. They should have had that vision that there is something dangerous happening. Let us try to, because it's not something which is beyond politics. Politics is making the art of impossible, make the impossible possible. So if they were, I mean, why? How could these people come into political importance? Basically because of the vision of Lohia. Otherwise, if you look at Bihar, UP and Madhya Pradesh, the Hindi heartland, which is called Aryavarta, it's a Brahminical dominant provinces, right? But consciously, can you imagine any political person choosing somebody like Karpuri Thakur, who belongs to a small community, making the Chief Minister of Bihar? Look at the vision behind it. I mean, generally every political party will go for a leader who comes from a big caste. Okay? But Lohia went for a small caste, and Karpuri Thakur didn't have any much political knowledge. And Lohia's justification, put him in the chair of the Chief Minister, you will learn it. What's so big deal? A padivilo కూర్చోబెడితే నేర్చుకుంటాడు ఆటోమేటిక్గా. You will make mistakes later. So what I'm trying to draw your attention to that these parties, SP and RJD, did not display that kind of vision. Otherwise they could have averted. Now what has happened that in UP and Bihar, there's a clear fault line, multiple fault lines within the backward caste. I don't know whether this is the platform to talk about all this, but since he has raised the question, I am answering. If it is not the platform, please stop me. Okay? So there are multiple fault lines within the backward caste, so-called Shudras. And the major fault line is between Yadavs and other castes, Kurmis, Koiris and other castes, Ahirs in UP. BJP is successful because it has identified the problem. Don't think that only Dalits and Bahujans learn from Phule and Ambedkar. Brahmins also learn from Phule and Ambedkar. Don't think the working class learns from the Marxist literature. It's not the working class which can any ordinary fellow read and understand Das Capital. No. The bourgeoisie understand this better because they have the teaching. Today's bourgeoisie who are educated in Harvard and other big business schools, working with Adani and Ambani, they understand Das Capital better. They learn from. So it's not only you learning, they also learn. They have learned and said that, oh, there is the fault line. Now if you can use this contradiction between Yadavs and other smaller, less powerful, less dominant backward caste, then it's easy to capture power. And here we see people talking about backward caste as if they are all one lump. They are in a sack. No, they are not in a sack. I mean, Marx thought that the peasants are in sack of potatoes, but there is no sack. They are all just potatoes spilled all over the place. So that is the major weakness of the backward caste politics. We cannot even call it backward caste movement. There is no movement. Okay. Another important thing is that since you have raised about the Mandal, I will just make one observation and stop it. If you look at the Mandal Commission report, and you don't need to read very carefully, just look at even superficially. Mandal is not just talking about reservations. He also talked very insightfully about how after the British came to power in India, with the British, the process of modernization got initiated, the economy started getting modernized, and much more aggressively after independence, okay, with the development of science and technology, modern industrialization, the caste system is not just higher and lower, not just ritual, Puritan, caste system is also productive capacity. Caste is also, as Ambedkar said, division of labor. Unfortunately, it is also a division of laborers. That's aside. So each caste performs certain economic functions. Okay. Some of them are menial, undesirable, agreed. But some of them are very dignified. For instance, handloom weaver, okay, goldsmith, blacksmith. All these castes are associated to the agrarian, primarily to the agrarian system. Now, what has happened after independence is there is deindustrialization of these traditional industries, okay, decline of all these traditional occupations. And what happened? Who has got these traditional occupations? All these traditional occupations are shifted to the modern industry. And the fellows who studies IITs and ITIs started getting jobs. Obviously, these people have no access to these institutions. So this is the greater tragedy of caste. Okay, that has happened. Some kind of casticide, like homicide, death of the productive abilities of the caste has happened. And Mandal Commission mentions this. If there is a conscious backward caste movement, they should have taken this further. You are only talking about those who have already got education and there are jobs. These educated people should. What about the remaining huge section of the society who have no access to the education? And the very premise on which you denuded them of their skills, these are not scientific, these are only traditional, less skilled. But there were brilliant skills in these industries, traditional caste-based industries, okay, crafts. So you de-recognize the state, Nehruvian state de-recognize this and gave prestige to the skills imparted by IITs and ITIs. So that is where you have to see the major violence happening on caste. And it's the weakness of the movement, backward caste movement, that he did not raise this important issue. It is there in the knowledge of everybody, and it's reminded to us by the Mandal Commission, and nobody took note of it. That's the major problem. So let's not merely talk about reservations in jobs, reservation in education, reservation in politics. Let us talk about the major violence that has happened. And once we talk about that repeatedly, okay, variedly, then we will find the solution. I think I will stop it here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful answers for the questions. And also, it is also one more talk on this now. So, we need your inputs for the flourishing of our upcoming activities also, sir. Thank you so much for the two speakers. Now the time for the special invitee and raise the occasion of our our big brother, Professor G. Mallesham, sir. Please come to and deliver a message.
Very good evening to all of you. Respected our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, the Chief Guest of today's program, and also Guest of Honors, B. Sudhakar Reddy, sir, Honorary Director, ICSSR, also Professor Laxminaryana, Registrar of Osmania University, and also the main speakers of this today's topic, Contemporary Relevance of Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, and my most favorite and respected persons in the, my college days onwards, Professor Murli Manohar, sir. He, because of his some other busy schedule, he could not attend, and also Professor Adab sir, Professor Srinivas sir, just now I heard his lecture, and really it was so informative. And also Professor Tirumali sir and Professor G. Tirupati Kumar sir. And some more names I want to tell here. That is Professor Simhamadri sir, Professor P.L. Vishweshwarao and his wife Akhileshwari madam. why I'm telling is, these are the people, I mean, I don't know how many of you know about these people. They are unsung heroes, to be frank. In the Telangana formation, these are the people who really gave the information to the, at that time the Congress government. I was the main member coordinating all these professors from all different parts of the state. At that time, the Professor Marli Mohan sir, Vice-Chancellor sir, and all the people, they used to give the content, and we used to prepare and we used to send the center. And many people claim that, Telangana came because of some people. No, it was because of, it was there, but there also their, efforts are not, we cannot say no. But main final goal was done by these people, to be frank. But media, literature was said differently, but I am the one who used to go every day in a weekly 4 days to Delhi, in the morning flight, and come back in the night, take the information, go back. This was my situation for last almost 1 year during that time. So that's why I asked Trimala sir to wait, just I want to tell you a story, how sir left in between. And I'm very happy that this galaxy of eminent people were brought. Heartiest congratulations to Venkateshwar Chalamala. And also not only that, creating this center first of all, Jyotiba Phule Research Center by Honorary Vice-Chancellor Ravinder sir and Chalamala. It was a great initiative, to be frank. And also today, because Jyotiba Phule is called as Mahatma on this day given, and also what is the contemporary of relevance of their, not only Mahatma Phule but all the Mahaniyu, Dr.B.R.Ambedkar, anybody you take about. We all should talk truth. It's not for the sake of just seminars or not for the sake of something. We all know what we are, where we are now. To me, you may be full today because of your job, your things. In Hyderabad, you are sitting, you are comfortable AC rooms and all. But you talk about the people who are there in the village. We are just only 5 to 10% of people who are sitting in Hyderabad. And we are talking, lecturing all about the things. But you just talk about the people who are there. You just ask a girl who is there, uneducated girl in the village, how she is suffering. You ask a person who is going for laborer every day, you ask a person why. Why those people are, we are talking about after 175, 200 years, we are talking about. You ask anyone in the village, they will tell you what exactly this relevance is. Recently I was attended one program at Sudhakar Reddy, this Ambedkar Jayanti. On that day, one person asked me, why still the reservations are going on? Why don't you people are leaving? Because we are all sitting here. There are different community here. I am Reddy and he is BC, he is SC, all sitting comfortably are taking work together. Just I was a little bit confused. Not confused, but I felt that is ignorance. Simply I said that, first of all, can you please tell me about you, what you are? No, we are also facing lot of problems and all. Even though we are so-and-so community, we are suffering a lot. And I said, no, for example, what you are doing, he is a journalist, by the way. For example, a journalist job olpani paristenti. For example, if I lost my job, what is my situation? Just I ask these two questions. If I lost my job, then I have to just again go back to normal job. I have to daily labor job almost equal to. Because I don't have any backend. But that fellow is at 10 acres of land. And not only that, who ruled this country for so many years, first of all? You take any chief minister, any central minister, all are ruled by the upper caste fellows. Not, I don't, the dominant caste, I should say. You should not use the word of upper caste at all. You should always use the word of dominant caste. They were ruled. Why they were not given equal opportunity everywhere? And one more, our eminent people, so-called Bahujans we call, thanks to Phule sir, Mahatma Phule, who has coined this Bahujan to unite all the SC, ST, BC minorities. But still we are not. Still we are not. And one fellow, recently I felt very bad that one flyer came in our university group that Center అనేది రీసెర్చ్ సెంటర్ తీసేయాలని చెప్పి గ్రూప్లో రీసెంట్గా వచ్చిన స్టూడెంట్ కమ్యూనిటీస్. I felt so bad. First of all, this is what I tell you, sir, just now, Satyanarayana sir, just now sir has asked, ఇంత గొప్ప యూనివర్సిటీలో ఇంత మంచి ప్రోగ్రామ్ జరుగుతుంటే ఎవరు లేననేది. అందరికీ ఒకటే మాట, అందరు కంఫర్ట్ జోన్లో ఉన్నారు సార్. అలా వాళ్ళందరికీ ఇంకోటి ఏం చేయాలంటే మనము గులాంగిరి బుక్ ఎక్కువ ప్రింట్ చేసి అందరికి ఇప్పియాలి సార్ మనం. This is the seminar, it was not simple. The Srinivas sir, Adapasatya sir and Tirupati, they are the eminent people, they are like, libraries. మీరు ఇంకా రాకుండా, you talk about the politics, you talk about the, something in the universities, you talk about the all things, but you don't have a minimum thing to come and attend this kind of programs. How pathetic situations you are in, they are in. So one I saw that research center thesis, I felt so bad. And not only that, they also say that ఇంకా మనకు ఈ మహనీయుల జయంతులు జరుపుకోవాలన్నా, ఇవన్నీ చేయాలన్నా, ఈ సెంటర్స్ అవసరం. వన్ మోర్ క్వశ్చన్, దట్ వాస్ దే ఆస్క్డ్ బై eminent, so-called Bahujan professor, he asked that question. Because where we are going, what is our situation? అంటే కంచె చేను మోసినట్టు అనమాట ఇది. బికాజ్ యూ గాట్ ఎ జాబ్, యువర్ ఫ్యామిలీ ఈజ్ గుడ్, యూ ఆర్ గుడ్. వాట్ అబౌట్ యువర్ నెక్స్ట్ జనరేషన్, యువర్ హోల్ ఫ్యామిలీ? ఐ థింక్ ఆయన ఫ్యామిలీ కూడా అందరూ కూడా జాబ్లు వచ్చిన వాళ్ళు కాదు, ఒక్కడే వచ్చింటాడు, మంచి హ్యాపీగా ఉంటాడు. మీరు వాట్ అబౌట్ అదర్స్? ఇంకా 200 years అయినప్పుడు కూడా ఇంకా వీఆర్ నాట్ ఏబుల్ టు pull up together, we are not becoming united. Why not we celebrate? నాకు నిజంగా చెప్పాలంటే జ్యోతిబా పూల గురించి నాకు తెలియదు. నాకు రీసెంట్ పాస్ వరకు కూడా తెలియదు. రీసెంట్ పాస్ ఇన్ సెన్స్ మేబీ నేను ఉస్మానియా జాయిన్ అయిన రీసెంట్ ఈ మధ్యలో జ్యోతిబా పూలే పేరు నేను బాగా వస్తుంది. అంతమందికి తెలియదు. ఐ నెవర్ సీన్ ద నేను కాలేజ్ డేస్లో ఉన్నప్పుడు అంబేద్కర్ ఫోటో మేము జయంతి జరుపుకోవాలంటే ఒక చిన్న ఫోటో తీసుకొని నా రూమ్లో 123 రూమ్ నెంబర్లో ఒక 2-3 డోర్ వేసుకొని అక్కడ పెట్టుకొని దండ వేసుకొని అక్కడక్కడనే దండం పెట్టి మళ్ళీ బయటకు వచ్చేవాళ్ళు. దట్ వాజ్ సిచ్యువేషన్. ఇంకా చెప్పాలంటే వీ షుడ్ ఆల్ ఫీల్ షేమ్ఫుల్ దట్ ఆ మహాత్ముల యొక్క జయంతులు వర్ధంతులు జరుపుకోకపోవడం అనేది నిజంగా మనం చేసే పెద్ద తప్పు అంటనే. ఎందుకంటే వాళ్ళ పుణ్యం, వాళ్ళు లేకుంటే ఒక్కసారి ఇమాజిన్ చేయండి, ఆ మహనీయులు లేకుంటే అదొక విషయం. ఇప్పుడున్న మన సోకాల్డ్ గెలాక్సీ ఆఫ్ దీస్ పీపుల్ మన గురించి మాట్లాడుకుంటే మన పరిస్థితి ఎలా ఉందో ఒక్కసారి ఆలోచించండి. బికాస్ ఆఫ్ Satyanarayana sir, Adapa Satyanarayana, they fought for putting some syllabus in those days. Yes sir, I think am I right sir? వాళ్ళు అలాంటి సిలబస్ పెట్టే వాళ్ళు మీలాంటి వాళ్ళు చదువుతున్నారు, కనీసం అర్థం చేసుకుంటారు. వాళ్ళు లేకుంటే మన పరిస్థితి ఏంటి? ఇలాంటి అసలు మనం వీఆర్ నాట్ రీచ్ ఎట్ ఆల్ ఎనీథింగ్. అసలు ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ వీ షుడ్ నాట్ ఫస్ట్ అంబేద్కర్ జస్ట్ సార్ ఆల్రెడీ చెప్పాడు, అంబేద్కర్ చేయగానే ఓన్లీ ఎస్సీలు రావాలా, ఆ ఎస్సీలో కూడా ఇప్పుడు బాబు జయజీరావు రావాలా, మాదిగోలు రావాలా, మా అంబేద్కర్ మా అండ్ బీసీలు రాగానే ఓన్లీ వీళ్ళే రావాలా, వి ఆల్ ఏంది మన కొమరం భీమరావు ఎస్టీలు ఓన్లీ రావాలి. దట్స్ వాట్ వీఆర్ our minds are so meager, very small fellows. We are creating ourselves. Now the big threat is from among us only. Remember this, all my eminent people who are sitting here. The threat is not from the dominant caste in the future. Threat is from among our own people. We are not accepting our own growth. BCs are not accepting SCs growth. SCs are not supporting the BCs. We are not, and STs are not separately, all are separating like that. We should talk about that. They spoke those days, so many years back, they spoke about women education, education pure for everything and చెప్పేసి Mahatma Phule. But are we really giving? If you see the statistics on 2023 I am talking about, the education which is reached to us only 10%, not even 10%. Not even 10%. And those 10% also, we are all in the government schools and these residential schools, nobody is there in corporate schools. You tell me any one of your your student is studying in any corporate school in Hyderabad, top 10 corporate schools. Even my child is not studying in that. Then where are we are, what are we talking? And even in our universities, we talk about proudly that Osmania University 98% mana pillallu vastaru manallo unnaru. Nobody come on single thread, single point one day if you call for. No professor, no student will come. Everybody have their own agendas. So what they taught, that what we are doing. We are just become selfish. I am telling you, we are become selfish. They sacrifice. Just now Srinivas sir told one word. నేనే చెప్పను, మీరే మాట్లాడుకో, నేను ఎందుకు, నేను వెళ్ళిపోతాను. That was a commitment by them. That was a commitment those people. But where is the commitment which is coming to our people? And also you talk about medical facilities. Not even 30% of our people are able to go for that. 30% people, many of the people. Just take about the just recently the corona, you take about 6 crores of people were displaced by in India, that too only Bahujans. Remaining all other people they are very happy. And even today 65% of the people are not allowed to in the temples. I'm talking about today's, I'm talking about this is. And almost 50% of the people burial grounds allow dead bodies. There are so many dead bodies are lying outside because of this caste discrimination. ఇంకా still we are talking about ఇంకా కాంటెంపరీ కాకపోతే ఇంకా ఇలాంటి ఒకటి రెండు కాదు, thousands జరగాల, వేలు జరగాల ఇలాంటి సెమినార్. దట్ టు ఇన్ విలేజెస్ వి షుడ్ గో అండ్ టాక్ టు దెమ్. అసలు ఇక్కడ ఉన్న హైదరాబాద్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి అసలు ఇట్లాంటి సెమినార్లు చేయొద్దు అసలు. బికాస్ వేస్ట్ ఆఫ్ టైం, వేస్ట్ ఆఫ్ యువర్ ఎనర్జీ, వేస్ట్ ఆఫ్ అవర్ మనీ. టుడే మైట్ హ్యావ్ స్పెండ్ వెంకట సార్ గుడ్ అమౌంట్. దట్ సేమ్ అమౌంట్ ఇఫ్ యూ గో అండ్ పుట్ మండల్ విలేజ్, చుట్టుపక్కల విలేజ్ వాళ్ళందరూ వచ్చి మంచిగా వినిపోతారు. వాళ్ళు సిన్సియర్గా వస్తారు. వాళ్ళకి నేర్పించాలి, మనకు కాదు అవసరం. Everywhere discrimination. You tell me any community, I think we are sitting all the communities, just tell me your uniqueness. Who are we all? ఎక్కడ మనం కలుసుకున్నామా? అసలు we don't know. మల్లేశం అనగానే జస్ట్ వాడు ఎక్కడి నుంచి వచ్చిండి ఏంటంటే మొత్తం పుట్టుకోక తీసేసి మనకు బ్రాండ్ వేసి పడేస్తారు. I'm very happy for the brand. Where I come from, my community, I proudly say that. But instead of supporting me, they try to pull us. So I'm telling you this topic is, I feel, next 100 years also it is relevant. Next 100 years. Because nobody, we always, many things, you take any kind of thing, if you take education, everywhere we are discriminated. Your own community, our own colleges, even our nowadays the universities became so bad. I'm telling you, universities under big threat. Our power, if you all unite, we will get some power, but we are all dispersed. We are not together. ఇద్దరు ముగ్గురు కలిసి వాళ్ళకు లీడర్, వాళ్ళకు పార్టీ. ఒక్కడే రూమ్ ఉంటుంది, వానికి ఐడెంటిటీ కార్డు. Then how long we cheat ourselves, our own community? You are not cheating yourself. You are cheating your own community. You are cheating your own, all your people. So I feel I'm very happy and proud to be part of this program. Even though I come from the engineering background, మేము ఆ మాట కోసం మేము ఇంజనీరింగ్ వాళ్ళకి కొంచెం సోషల్ అవేర్నెస్ తక్కువ ఉంటుంది మాకు. ఆనెస్ట్లీ మాకు అంత పెద్దగా ఉండదు. బట్ ద వే ఐ కేమ్ ఫ్రమ్, నా బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్, నాకు వచ్చిన పరిస్థితుల ప్రకారం నేను ఐ ఫీల్ ఫర్ ఇట్. నిజంగా నాకు ఎడ్యుకేషన్ లేకుండా ఈరోజు నేను ఖచ్చితంగా ఈరోజు మా ఊళ్ళో కూలోనే. ఈ మహనీయులు వీళ్ళందరూ లేకుంటే నిజంగా నేను ఈరోజు వీళ్ళందరూ వాళ్ళు లేకపోతే నేను నథింగ్. వాళ్ళు ఎంతో గొప్ప, వాళ్ళు అప్పటి నుంచి చెప్తున్న విషయం మనం వాటిని కరెక్ట్గా అర్థం చేసుకుంటూ దాంట్లో నెగిటివ్గా ఆలోచిస్తాం అందరం. అవర్ సెల్ఫ్ వి బ్రాండ్. సార్ చెప్పగా ఇంతకుముందు అన్నట్టు ఎస్సీ అనగానే ఎస్సీ వాళ్ళకి సంబంధించి ఎవరు టాపర్ అని పిలుస్తారు వాళ్ళని, బీసీ అనే బీసీలో ఎవరు పిలుస్తారు. అవర్ సెల్ఫ్ వీఆర్ డివైడింగ్ అవర్ సెల్ఫ్. వేర్ ఇస్ ద క్వశ్చన్ ఆఫ్ యునైటెడ్నెస్? వెన్ యూ విల్ బికమ్, మనం ఎప్పుడు పవర్ఫుల్ అవుతాం? రీసెంట్గా నేను అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ఎలక్షన్లో ఇక్కడ నేను కాంటెస్ట్ చేశాను ఉస్మానియాలో. చాలామంది గొప్పగా మాట్లాడారు. 30 సంవత్సరాల తర్వాత ఒకరు వచ్చిర్రు, ఒక టీం పెట్టిర్రు అనుకుని మేము ఈక్వేషన్ చేసేటప్పుడు కూడా అరే మహిళగా ఒక ఎస్టీ ఉండాలని చెప్పేసి ఆమెను ప్రెసిడెంట్గా పెట్టుకున్నాం. వైస్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ నేను, ఇంకో వైస్ ప్రెసిడెంట్, అలా అందరినీ మన ఆల్ ఈక్వేషన్ పెట్టి చేసాం. our own community people of same community people divided, and they successfully saw that no, వాళ్ళు ఓడిపోయాడు చేసి. This is what we are looking for. Only thing is because she belongs to them, she should not be there. So we all became polluted. We should come out of that first. First we think positively. First think for our people who are there still struggling to come to Hyderabad at least. మీరు అదృష్టం వచ్చి కొంచెం బాగున్నారు, ఇక్కడ మంచిగా ఉన్నారు, కానీ there are people who are really suffering a lot. So even నేను ఇప్పటికి I still have some kind of negative comment all cells. ఓన్లీ జయంతులు లేకపోతే వర్ధంతులు లేకపోతే ఇట్లాంటి స్పెషల్ చేయకుండా you keep such kind of some programs for a whole year and try to select one village or in a mandal where it is supposed to be educated. You try to go in once in a month or once in a couple of months. Each cell, SC/ST cell, BC cell, minority cell and Ambedkar center, all these people not sitting in AC rooms, and we should not do that one. Spending money, we are not giving money for just for that one. We are giving money to enlighten the people who are there away from us. ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ఇక్కడ ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి అందరికీ బాగున్నది, ఇక్కడ 3 పూటలు అన్నం దొరుకుతుంది వాళ్ళకి. దే డోంట్ హ్యావ్ సచ్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ సోషల్ అవేర్నెస్ ఫీలింగ్. I wish all these centers will take a very good programs in the future. And అన్నట్టుగా మనం మేడం ఇంతమందికి అన్నది, మేడం మనం ఎప్పుడు ఎప్పుడు అందరం కలుస్తామంటే మేడం అంటే మన పిల్లలు పోయి ఎట్లా చదువుకుంటారు కార్పొరేట్ అని, అది నెవర్ హ్యాపెన్స్ మేడం యాజ్ లాంగ్ యాజ్ వీ డోంట్ గెట్ అ పొలిటికల్ పవర్. దట్ ఈస్ ఓన్లీ సొల్యూషన్, నథింగ్ ఎల్స్. అన్లెస్ వీ గో టు ద పాలిటిక్స్ అంటే వాటిలో పోయి మళ్ళీ పోయిన వాళ్ళందరూ గులాంగిరి ఉంటే తప్ప వీ కెనాట్. బట్ పవర్ డిసైడ్ చేసే వాళ్ళు ఉన్నప్పుడు, ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ దెర్ ఆర్ మెనీ కాలేజెస్ ఇన్ ద స్టేట్, దెర్ ఆర్ నో మినిమం ఫెసిలిటీస్. పార్కింగ్ లేదు, మన పిల్లల్ని పంపిస్తాం అక్కడ. ఒక జస్ట్ 5-10 ఫ్లోర్స్ ఉన్న బిల్డింగ్స్ మనం పంపిస్తాం. వీ నెవర్ క్వశ్చన్ దెమ్. సో అది ఎవరిచ్చే పర్మిషన్? మన అక్కడ కూర్చున్న వాళ్ళు ఇచ్చారు. అక్కడ కూడా అందరూ ఓన్లీ డామినెంట్ క్యాస్ట్లే కాదు కదా, మిగతా మన వాళ్ళు కూడా చాలా మంది ఉన్నారు కదా. వీ డోంట్ టేక్ రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ. సో ద పీపుల్ హూ ఆర్ హ్యావింగ్ సోషల్ కాన్షియస్నెస్, దే షుడ్ ఎంటర్ ఇన్ టు ద పాలిటిక్స్. అన్లెస్ యూ గో టు పవర్, నువ్వు ఎప్పుడైతే నువ్వు రూల్ చేయగలుగుతావో అప్పుడే సొసైటీ చేంజ్ అవుతుంది. కానీ అదర్వైజ్ యాజ్ లాంగ్ యాజ్ యూ ఆర్ ఇన్ కంఫర్ట్ జోన్, యాజ్ లాంగ్ యాజ్ యూ ఆర్ ఇన్ సేఫ్ జోన్స్ ఉన్నంత వరకు ఇది జరగబోదు. ఇలానే సెమినార్లు పెట్టుకుంటా నేను కూడా మళ్ళీ రిటైర్ అయిన తర్వాత ఇలాంటి సెమినార్ మళ్ళీ అటెండ్ అవుతాను. సో అన్లెస్ వీ గో పాలసీ మేకర్స్ అవ్వనంత వరకు మన పరిస్థితి ఇలా ఉంటుంది, మన ఎవరు పట్టించుకోరు. అన్లెస్ వీ బికమ్ ద పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద పాలసీ మేకర్స్, దెన్ ఓన్లీ ఆల్ ద సొల్యూషన్ విల్ కమ్. దట్ టు ద పీపుల్ హూ ఆర్ హ్యావింగ్ సొసైటీ అనే కొంచెం వాల్యూస్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళు అయితే మాత్రమే తప్ప, అదర్వైజ్ మళ్ళీ డబ్బులు పెట్టిపోయే వాళ్ళు పోతే మాత్రం వాళ్ళకి మళ్ళీ ఎందుకంటే డబ్బులు పెట్టి రీసెంట్గా ఒక న్యూస్ పేపర్లో కూడా చూసిన, నేను ఇన్ని కోట్లు పెట్టినా నేను దానికి సీట్కి వచ్చిన రీసెంట్గా ఒక న్యూస్ పేపర్లో కూడా చూసిన. అట్లాంటి వాళ్ళు పోతే మాత్రం ఇట్ నెవర్ హ్యాపెన్స్, ఇట్ విల్ నాట్ బీ. సో థ్యాంక్ యూ ఆర్గనైజర్ ఫర్ గివింగ్ దిస్ వండర్ఫుల్ ఆపర్చునిటీ. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
So సో మల్లేశం సారు కరెంట్ సిచ్యువేషన్ ఎటు హైయర్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అండ్ ఉస్మానియా యూనివర్సిటీలో జరిగే పరిస్థితులు కూడా చాలా చక్కగా వివరించారు. ఎందుకంటే మేము ప్రతిరోజు కూడా అదే కార్యక్రమాలలో ఉన్నాం, రోజు ఏం జరుగుతుందో. సో దాన్ని చాలా ఎనాలిటికల్గా వివరించడం జరిగింది. దీనికి సారు మాకు అంటే అన్ని సెల్లకు ఇచ్చిన సూచన ఏదైతుందో అది నిజంగా రాబోయే కాలంలో చేస్తే కూడా బాగానే ఉంటుంది. మేము ఇంతకుముందు అదే తిరిగాము విలేజ్లలో కూడా, బోధి అనే లైబ్రరీ కాన్సెప్ట్లో. సో మళ్ళీ ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడి నుంచి కూడా స్టార్ట్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది. సో ఈ కార్యక్రమానికి ఇప్పటికీ 5:30 అవుతున్నా కానీ కదలకుండా వీళ్ళందరూ కూడా చాలా కాన్షియస్గా ఈరోజు ఇంత డెలిబరేషన్ చేసినందుకు అందరికీ కూడా ప్రత్యేక ధన్యవాదాలు తెలుపుకుంటున్నాం. పర్టికులర్గా మరి స్పీకర్స్గా వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ రవీందర్ సార్ కానీ, మరి అదేవిధంగా రిజిస్ట్రార్ లక్ష్మీనారాయణ సార్, మరి మనకు స్పాన్సర్ చేసిన ICSSR-SRC డైరెక్టర్ సుధాకర్ రెడ్డి సార్, మిగతా మెయిన్ స్పీకర్స్ పర్టికులర్గా మా గురువు శ్రీనివాసులు సార్, ఆడప సత్యనారాయణ సార్, తిరుమలి సార్, CH శ్రీనివాస్ సార్, మరి అదేవిధంగా లాస్ట్కు గ్రేడ్ చేసిన మన బిగ్ బ్రదర్ జి మల్లేశం సార్, ప్రొఫెసర్, వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా, మిగతా డిపార్ట్మెంట్ నుంచి వచ్చిన మా చంద్రు సార్ కానీ, డైజీ మేడం కానీ, మార్నింగ్ వచ్చిన అంజయ్య కానీ, శ్రీనివాసులు సార్, మరి అదేవిధంగా నరసింహులు సార్, మరి మిగతా లీడర్స్ నుంచి వచ్చిన వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా ఉన్నారు. రామ్ నర్సయ్య గౌడ్, మరి ఇందిరా మేడం, మరి పర్టికులర్గా ప్రతి డిపార్ట్మెంట్ మార్నింగ్ సెషన్లో రాములు సార్ కూడా వచ్చిండు. మరి మాకు వెన్నంటి ఉన్న మన మిత్రులందరికీ కూడా స్కాలర్స్ నరసింహ కానీ, చంద్రశేఖర్ కానీ, బాలు నాయక్ కానీ, కృష్ణ, వీళ్ళందరికీ కూడా ప్రత్యేకంగా పేరు పేరున, రమేష్, సుధాకర్, చాలామంది ఉన్నారు. ఒకవేళ పేర్లు ఏమైనా మర్చిపోతే నన్ను వచ్చేయండి. అండ్ ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ మొత్తం కూడా బిహైండ్ ఉన్న సృజన కానీ, డాక్టర్ సృజన రీసెర్చ్ అసిస్టెంట్, అదేవిధంగా సంతోష్, శేఖరు, చాలామంది పార్టిసిపేట్ చేశారు. వీళ్ళందరూ కూడా సహకరించడం వల్లనే ఆ సెంటర్ ఇచ్చారు. కానీ ఇప్పటి వరకు ఇంకా డబ్బులు రాలేదు దాంట్లో. దానికి మొత్తం కూడా సారే వెన్నెముక ఉండి అన్ని అప్పులతోటి 2వ సెమినార్ నడిపించడం జరుగుతుంది. ఇవాళ రేపట్లో అంటే వాళ్ళందరికీ కూడా పే చేయాల్సి ఉంటుంది. మీడియా మిత్రులకు అందరికీ కూడా ప్రత్యేక ధన్యవాదాలు తెలుపుకుంటున్నా. చిన్న ఫెలిసిటేషన్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ గురువులు అందరికీ కూడా